mark. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Let's have an updated look at the Showdown effect. Usually I'd say WTF is the Showdown effect, but I did that at the beta and there's not that many changes, so it doesn't really seem right to do yet another WTF is after I did one like 3 weeks ago on this game. So instead, let's do a comparison between this and what we saw in the beta. So, just a reminder, the Showdown effect is a multiplayer competitive two-dimensional action game. Some platformy elements in there, by Arrowhead, the guys that brought you Magicka. Definitely a very different game to Magicka. Magicka was I wouldn't say it was cooperative necessarily, because there's a lot of crazy nonsense that went on in that game which involved blowing up your friends, but it was a isometric magic game, I guess. I mean, I don't really have any other definition for it. It certainly wasn't an RPG or anything like that. So it's a very different kind of game. But I'd like to look at the differences, and we'll see what's changed, what's been improved, what's stayed the same since the beta, and whether or not this is actually worth your 10 whole English dollars. I didn't think that one through before I said it, did I? No, I didn't. So first things first, the store. Microtransactions. $5? What is this? Well, I confirmed this with them earlier. This is actually a joke. Yeah, they put this in as a joke. Some people didn't get it. This is horse armor. Yeah? He's even got a saddle on his back. So they put Day 1 DLC horse armor into the game, which is, of course, a mockery of the Bethesda Elder Scrolls Oblivion horse armor DLC, which is widely regarded by most people as one of the most ridiculous pieces of paid DLC to ever be added to a video game. So they put this in as a joke. They even gave you a free propeller cap. For whatever reason. Don't even know why, but hey, it's there. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to be coming in future or what the prices are, but what we do know is that Arrowhead has done this whole lots and lots of post-launch DLC thing before with Magicka. What they do is they generally release a very cheap game that is content complete, and then they release a bunch of DLC, a lot of which is cosmetic, some of which isn't. Obviously, the DLC they're going to bring out for this has got to be different to the DLC for Magicka. There are some similarities, like you can release weapon skins, which, as you can see, there's an option for. You can release outfits and robes, which is something that was also in Magicka. You can even release characters in this case. But you've got to be careful about releasing weapons, because then you get into this problem of pay to win. However, you'll notice that there aren't actually any weapons here available in the store. Obviously, this is all empty right now, but there's not even a category for weapons. This is a good thing. If we go to unlockables, you'll see here are the weapons, yeah? There's been 2 additional weapons put in since the beta, the thrown weapons and rifles. And all of this stuff was in the beta. You get the machine gun and the sword by default. But in the store, there is nothing for weapons, only weapon skins and wearables. There is the possibility that they'll introduce characters which have problems, because every character has a unique ability. So it's possible that if they bring in characters that aren't just alt skins and models of existing ones, then you will run into this situation where there may be characters available to buy that are more powerful than current ones. If they're smart, they'll avoid this. Initially, it looks pretty solid. As I said, because of these wearables and weapon skins, it looks like this is all going to be cosmetic. I assume they're not dumb enough to put in stuff like levels and split the community, which is already fairly small to begin with, so hopefully they won't do that. So, it should be okay. Again, this whole Day 1 DLC thing is kind of a joke, so I guess I don't really mind so much. It's obvious what they're trying to get at here. Now, unlockables. So, weapon skins, there's a few more than there were previously, still not all that many. Basically, there's a couple of different options. That actually looks like that might be from Metal Gear Rising. Or is that a power sword? That almost looks like a power sword from 40k. These are all completely cosmetic. I could unlock the 1876 Gatling gun if I so desire, and I do desire, by the way, so I think I'll probably do that later. All the way up to the 2X Terminator, very, very expensive in terms of your AC. I don't even know what that means. It's just points that you earn from different matches. Lot more unlockables, including the Magicka robes. Yeah, they are here, as you can see. Pretty expensive. King's Crown. Wow, 100,000 AC for that. Neo Coat and stuff like that. Not quite as much stuff as I'd hoped for. I would have thought they'd have put a little bit more in there, but apparently not so much. There is an unlockable fedora for those of you who want to neck-beard it up. Weapons-wise, all of these are very, very cheap. Like, you can unlock all of the basic sets of weapons very, very early on. As you can see, I've got this many. I've played 3 or 4 matches of this new version and then a bunch of stuff in the beta, so it does not take a lot of effort to unlock any of these. The machine gun you get by default is, as far as I'm concerned, a very powerful weapon, as is the sword. Rifles is an interesting idea. Shotguns have been buffed since the beta. I complained that shotguns sucked. They don't anymore. RPGs, obviously, yeah, we've seen those before. You can also unlock custom rules. Now, I don't know how this actually works, because it seems like when you enter a game, you can actually try and put a custom rule in it. This may just be for when you're hosting it. You'll notice that there's all sorts of different stuff. When you want to make sure anyone only brings a single gun, so you can attribute that as quad damage. All weapons and melee damage get 4 times multiplier. Lower ability cooldowns. Kung Fu bonus score. Things like that. I'm not entirely sure how you actually apply this to anything. But I'm gonna try, and we're gonna check it out. So let's buy an item there. Now, I'm gonna buy this Gatling gun because that just looks awesome. Look at that thing. Absolutely. Obviously, it doesn't really do anything special. It is just a weapon skin. Loadout-wise, you have 4 characters by default this time. There are a couple more available in the unlockable store. As you can see right here, there are 4 more. All of these guys have unique abilities, as far as I can tell. Doesn't exactly tell you what, which is really kind of weird. It's like, you'd think that they would tell you what the abilities were before you actually unlock the character, but they don't. Yeah. Now, loadout screen. This is the character I'm currently using. She has the Bloodbath ability. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually tell you what it does. I've yet to figure this out. It kind of makes the screen go red, and I don't know if it heals you or what. It doesn't actually tell you directly. Now, loadout-wise, of course, you can just pick whatever secondary weapon you want there. And I'm sticking with a machine gun there, and then you can customize it to look like however you want. You can also get wearables. So, I want to go with the Crusader's Cowl and the Conjurer's Robe Red. I can absolutely do that. There we go. So I can be the Magicka guy. So there we go. And that's pretty much about it in that regard. Twitch streaming is available, as well as leaderboards. There's also a training mode. Now, there are 2 modes of play, ranked match and custom game. I'm going to try and do both. Ranked match, I've noticed, is way better if you want to get a lot of AC very quickly. Ranked match also has this ranking system whereby you all put some ranking points in to the pot, and whoever wins the showdown at the end wins the pot. So that's an interesting little change. They've also added a number of different modes which were not available in the beta, as well as 2 new maps. So Neo Tokyo Docks and Bandit Fortress are new. Medieval Madness and Showdown in Neo Tokyo were in the beta. Game modes wise, there are 4. Showdown is the basic deathmatch mode with the Showdown last man standing at the end. Team Elimination is exactly what you would think it is. Expendables mode. Now, what happens here is that you have a team of slowly respawning heroes versus a bunch of very quickly respawning henchmen. And these guys will try and kill the heroes. If they kill the heroes, it starts a long respawn timer. What they'll try and do is kill the entire hero team before they can respawn. They spawn with random weapons. You can't heal yourself as a henchman. You can't change your weapon or do a bunch of other stuff, and you have very low health. But it's an interesting little twist on the sort of asymmetrical horde mode, but everyone is playing an actual character within the game. It's a pretty cool idea. Also, as you'll notice, depending on which level you're in, they actually change the kind of henchmen. If you're in the sort of medieval ones, you get the ones with the robes, and then you've got the kind of Agent Neo guys over there. One-man army is a fairly similar idea, except it's sort of like a King of the Hill. You kill the one-man army guy, and you become him, and then it spawns you somewhere else. You try and survive as long as possible, and it scores you. So there you go. Now, I'm interested to know how the rules thing is actually working. We're going to join a custom game here. Bandit Fortress, that sounds like a decent idea. Nope, guess we're not joining that because that actually has a password on it. There aren't a huge amount of games available as of yet. Showdown Neo Tokyo, Expendables mode. Yeah, let's try Expendables mode, why not? I think I have to host the game in order to apply the custom rules as far as I can tell. The weird thing was that on joining a custom game, I was able to apply custom rules at one point, but I don't really know how that works yet. It doesn't really explain itself all that well. Alright, let's rock and roll. You see, here, this is what I'm talking about here, rule sets. And I can't really apply it, obviously, in Expendables mode. I don't really know how that works, if you get to vote on it, or something along those lines, or whether you have to host. Alright, so you'll notice here, I am a henchman, and it spawned me randomly with a rocket launcher. So, let's find out where Sniper Chicken is, eh? I'm gonna fire a rocket along there. There we go. See if I can catch him out. Evidently not. So the Expendables mode, as I said, it is a nice twist, honestly, and it's a pretty enjoyable game mode, all things considered. Sweet. Sniper Chicken is down for the count. which leaves still a couple of the guys around. Now, you can't bandage yourself in this mode. You can also be killed by your own team, which doesn't really surprise me all that much. It's an Arrowhead game. What kind of Arrowhead game would it be if you couldn't be killed by your own teammates? That would just absolutely suck. That would be lame as hell. But thankfully, they put in the ability to... Oh, I'm just going to get instantly killed by the guy with the lightsaber, aren't I? Yeah, pretty much. It's okay. They put in that ability, which is awesome. And actually kind of makes sense because they put this little element of competitive nonsense in the game, whereby you can kill your friends as the henchmen in order to get a better chance at getting the kill and earning points, which is a pretty cool idea. I like that. That's pretty fantastic. It's also a tad annoying from time to time where henchmen just kill each other for no apparent reason. There doesn't appear to be any kind of penalty for it, so I think maybe, just maybe, it makes this mode a little too chaotic, although I do like the idea behind it. Now, what's improved and what's the same from the beta? So, current problems with it are fairly similar to what I saw in the beta. There's a couple of different things which I commented on in my beta video that haven't really changed all that much. Now, one of those is the fact that there's a lot of mutual kills. Now, what I mean there is that you will kill someone, but they will kill you at the same time. That's pretty common. Now, this usually happens in games where the lag compensation is a little bit too extreme. Now, I know they've been putting in lag compensation because there are still some latency problems and warping issues associated with higher pings. Anyone pinging about 200 or higher, which is a little annoying because it seems like the server browser doesn't show the ping of the server in question, which means you can't properly judge whether or not it's a good idea to join that server. Well, yeah, the whole thing becomes a little bit of a mess. Obviously, warping makes it a lot easier for the guy that's warping around, which is pretty bad and could also lead to people either hacking the game or deliberately causing themselves to lag in order to actually gain some kind of advantage. There we go. Round end. Excellent. I think, do we get to play as the Expendables now, or is this the end of the round? That's a good question. We will find out in a second. Oh, excellent. We get to play as the Expendables now. So you'll notice we all have our weapons and our default stuff, and we can pick stuff up in the level. The henchmen start with a random piece of gear, so that's something they just have to adapt to. Running around with my Gatling gun is absolutely wonderful. Game still looks, you know, as good as it did in the beta. There's really no major changes that have been made there. As you can see, there's kind of some lag problems with him there. He was warping around just a little bit. Sweet, that's him dealt with. I'll bandage myself up and reload my gun. Another problem I've noticed, which was in the beta and doesn't appear to have been fixed, is this freezing problem. Every now and again, the game will actually freeze up with a black screen, and that can last upwards of 5 seconds, which is not very good. I am not very happy with that. As I said, that was reported in February in the beta and has not been fixed prior to release. Now, this is an unfortunate problem, as you're probably aware, with Arrowhead games. Magicka had a lot of issues on launch, and kind of almost still does. And there are some people on certain configurations that are still suffering when it comes to Magicka, which is not so great. This should have been dealt with, and I would have hoped Arrowhead would have learned from their initial experience. So, the combination of the potential 5-second black screen freezes, which haven't happened yet, the lag, and the sort of mutual kill thing that's been going on, is not pleasing. It indicates to me that the game came out a little bit early. This is yet another example of Paradox doing just that. Don't get me wrong, Paradox is one of my favorite publishers in terms of the kind of games that they release. They're really cool. They will release all sorts of really interesting concept games, especially on the PC, and I'm really happy about that. However, their QA has not been up to snuff lately. In fact, it's never really been up to snuff. Is he friendly or not? He looks a lot like the... Oh, God! Yeah, we're about to lose this round completely unless Jack Cooper can be a hero. As you can see, I've got more than a minute respawn time, so I find it unlikely he's going to survive. We will see. He might... no, I don't think he's going to... No, that's not going to happen. I failed horribly there. You can be my favorite publisher, and you can still be guys that screw up completely on QA. And this keeps happening, even after they promised that it wouldn't. So, that's a little bit lousy, to say the least. I'm not happy with that. Also not really happy with Arrowhead for, once again, kind of releasing a game that's got some bugs and issues and things like that. those three problems, the lag, the mutual kills, and the freezes, are things you should consider. Now, these are pretty big deals in a competitive multiplayer game. You can't have a game lag like that. You can't have these BS lag compensation mutual kill things going on, and you certainly can't have 5-second black screen freezes sometimes in the middle of an actual game that gets you killed. I mean, it's nonsensical. You could never even consider that. Not good. Not good at all. Okay, so we're going into a ranked game right now. So what this will do is hopefully try and match me up. It'll put me in a showdown game. This is where you get a lot of points, and you also earn ratings. So it's a pretty interesting mode, but a lot of people aren't really playing it yet, which means it can take a little bit of time. Most people are just going to unranked custom games, which is fine, because of course they want to try out the different modes and the different maps. This randomly selects maps. It's like, hey, we get to go on another Medieval Madness map. It's like, I've played that 50 times in the beta already, so it's unfortunate. And the lack of maps in general is something that could concern a lot of people. It is a $10 game. And, you know, you've got to kind of try and take that into consideration when you look at how much content a game actually has on launch. You don't take it into consideration if the game's buggy, by the way. You should never, ever, ever, ever excuse a game that's buggy or in some way unfinished just because it happens to be cheap. You just don't. That's not a good enough excuse. You can excuse a lack of content. I still think that 4 maps is a little bit lame, and it would have definitely been nicer to see more weapons. They added 2 more sets in, which is, of course, the thrown weapons and the rifles. And I know that obviously it takes a bit of time to balance different weapons, but I would have liked to see a little bit more. I guess the problem I've got really is that I was hoping for more depth of combat in the full release because the beta was very limited, but they didn't really add a lot to it. And the beta ended pretty quickly, and then they decided, right, we're just going to put the game out. More weapons would have been good. What I do like is the fact that they have not put this gigantic progression curve on it. This is a really good thing. There are way too many games doing this right now. This might disappoint some people. It's like, oh, well, what can I do? What's the point if there's nothing to unlock? And I say to you, why the hell are you playing video games? You're clearly doing it wrong. Don't get on the treadmill, Angbadang. What you want to do is you want to have a game that lets you get your playstyle nailed down pretty nicely and pretty quickly. And you can do that. Like, quite literally, within one ranked game, I had enough AC to buy any weapon in the game, even the RPG, which is the most expensive. So I can get my loadout really quickly, like maybe half an hour. You can get your preferred loadout, which is pretty fantastic. I was like, huh, most games don't let you do that. And I appreciate that they did that. They completely abandoned the Call of Duty model, whereby they said, oh yeah, you've got to play for 40, 50 hours to get your preferred setup, and someone that's played longer than you might have a setup that's just flat out better than yours. I mean, I hate that. But this has abandoned that in favor of the longer you play, the more stuff you are able to get. Double kill. In terms of your cosmetic and your design. It's like, yes, this is a good way. I want to unlock this really awesome skin for my weapon and run around as a character with this stuff. I don't necessarily think they've put enough customizable stuff in the game yet, and I also fear that there's going to be a hell of a lot of microtransactions in the game, potentially, because of, you know, just the tendency of Arrowhead to do that, and the fact that the store's already in the game from day one. That's potentially a concern. But aside from that, I like the way that they have designed their progression model. It's a refreshing change. There's too many games that are requiring you to get on the treadmill and play for 20, 30, 40 hours before you even get full enjoyment out of the game. Ain't nobody got time for that, especially if you're a smaller game. I think that if you're a smaller game, you should blatantly try and avoid that progression-based system, because people just do not have the time. They don't. They don't have the time to deal with that kind of stuff anymore, I feel. And you're going to severely put people off. And I don't want you to be doing that. This is from my perspective as someone that's very busy. I don't have 40, 50 hours to grind the best gun. Don't have that happen. Now, competitively, in terms of movement, nothing's really changed. I think maybe it seems a little smoother and tighter than it was previously, but it's kind of hard to say. I don't really know if that's the case. I liked the movement system before because I think there's a lot of potential depth to it, and the way that you can leap on people, doing a lot of wall sliding, jumping can actually give you a great deal of precision, more than you might have necessarily expected from a game that's a little bit cartoony and obviously looks like it's got a lot of action to it. Melee system hasn't really been changed in any way. It's still pretty much the same. Oh, here's your basic block and nonsense like that, but I want to watch out for you. Here, you're gonna have some bullets. Ah, almost had her, but there are still these lingering problems. You can see the warping on the screen. It's clear to see this is certainly not a problem which is unique by any stretch of the imagination. Other games have it, but it is never good. It is never good in a game whereby you're trying to encourage a bit of competition. And I think that there could be some really high-skill gameplay going on here. It might look like I'm spraying bullets, for instance, but unless my reticule is directly on the enemy, it's going to miss. Yeah? Which is unusual for a 2D game. Very unusual. And most of the time with 2D games, you just fire in the general direction of the target, and that's enough. Well, in this case, it's actually not, which is good. You know, that raises the skill cap of the game. It's less spammy, certainly. There's more precision involved in it. Aside from that, I mean, I think that's really all I've got to say about the Showdown effect right now. It's definitely not as special as Magicka was, yeah? To the point where I would, without question, recommend it. You know, Magicka, even with all of its problems, I would have said, God, you should just get it anyway. It's $10. Alright, so it's a bit buggy. It's incredible. You know, and that kind of, I suppose, to some people contradicts what I said earlier, is you should not forgive a game for being buggy because it's $10. No, but you can forgive a game for being buggy if it's otherwise incredible, which is exactly how I would have described Magicka. I'm going to use, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to hit somebody with it. There you go, have some of that. Not quite what I had in mind, but pretty close. I'm doing fairly well. I want to get to the end of this deathmatch and hopefully try and win it. I'm finding myself getting a fairly positive KD ratio. I think a lot of these people are kind of new to the game and don't really understand the nuances of it. But I was getting my ass handed to me in the beta from people that had just been playing a long time. I think the game's got a lot of potential, and later on, once we see a lot of extra stuff put into it, it could have an absolute metric ton of interesting content. I like it as it is. For a $10 deathmatch experience, it's good for a few hours of enjoyment, just to dip into every now and again. And I'm fine with that. That's actually okay. There's nothing wrong with that idea. Yeah, suck it. In fact, that's actually a very cool idea. There's not enough games that do that. Too many games require huge time commitments these days. And thankfully, this game doesn't appear to do that at all. There you go. I'm just going to deflect some bullets, and then I'm going to jump on him and slice it to pieces. Oh, fine. Oh, you're going to be like that? All right. You're going to be like that? Okay. I'll just get the gun out. Thank you very much, sir. Fantastic. All right. There's like 3 guys left. Can I make this work? Come on. I have a nemesis now. Let's do this right. Let's do this right. Where are you? There you are. Okay, got a good few shots on initially. Don't want to pop my special ability yet. There we go. Oh, no. Wrong weapon. Uh-oh. Get the gun out. Yes! Never bring a sword to a Gatling gun fight. Thank you very much. Wunderbar, he exclaimed with great relish. The pot is mine. Delicious. That gets me yet more points. I think that's like my 4th ranked game in a row one. I love this as well. This is nice little bit of fun. The credits at the end, they show you your rating, so my rating's actually getting pretty high. And there's the number of AC that I earned. Quite a lot. Quite a lot. Yeah, I say it's a good game. It's not finished. That's blatantly obvious. And as a result, I wouldn't necessarily buy it now. I'd buy it when they fix it, because you shouldn't necessarily reward the action of releasing games too early. It is a $10 game. Expect a lot of DLC, a lot of optional extras later on, and I think the game's gonna rise or fall on the basis of how fair those unlockables really are. As a 2D combat game for multiplayer fun and enjoyment, it is solid. It gives me that nice little sold-out vibe, it's very satisfying to play, and if they fix the problems with it, I would probably recommend it to you for $10. Again, it's $10. As it stands, because it is clearly not finished, I can't, in all good conscience, recommend it to you. But I suppose it depends on your tolerance of such bugs. I mean, do you have any real reason to pick it up now, rather than just waiting for them to patch it? Do you desperately want to play Showdown Effect right now? If you desperately want to play Showdown Effect, chances are you already pre-ordered the bloody thing anyway, in which case you are suffering the exact same problems as I'm having. But there you go. Showdown Effect, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Arrowhead, currently available on Steam, Gamersgate, and all popular digital distribution platforms. My name has been TotalBiscuit. TotalBiscuit, yes. Bear awaiting orders. We'll see you next time.